The ultimate NRL experience. With non-stop action and top-notch analysis, this is the podcast for all rugby league fans. So join us for a deep dive into the world of rugby league and don't miss a beat of the action.
Welcome back to the Gone for 10 show. It's been a few massive episodes, but we finally got down to the two final teams a week early before the season kicks off. It's my boys, the Roosters, his boys, the Cowboys. Baxter, before we jump into it, mate, how are you doing? And talk to me before we break it down. Talk to me about your optimism. What are you thinking is a realistic option for the Cowboys to finish this year? Like, what position are they finishing in?
Well, last year was amazing, coming off the season that we had previously. Before that, coming second last, finished third. Look, if we're still in that hunt, top four, it'll still be a pass mark for me. But as we're recording right now, I reckon first half of the new season will be officially ended, and we'll be at halftime drink break in the first game. So we're a week out. Let's just get into this for the last two teams.
Well, we'll get into it in just a second, but like we said, we are a week out. But if you do want to see some rugby league action this week, one of my mates, Reese, there is an Asian football battle going down. It's the Thailand Naga side taking on the Japanese Moon Bears. It's at New Era Stadium. It's on February 25th. It's been sanctioned by Heritage Rugby League and New South Wales Rugby League. Both teams are excited to play. They're excited to represent their cultures. So if you're not doing anything, head out to Cabramatta Saturday the 25th from 3 p.m. and watch two great sides go head-to-head. They might not be the biggest countries that you think of when you think about rugby league, but I can tell you right now, these boys will give it a crack. Other notes, obviously, we have Leroy jumping on next week. He will be doing a all-exclusive Dolphins episode with myself and Baxter. We'll be breaking down the Dolphins preseason, the players to watch, who he believes is going to be the rising stars, and obviously, ultimately, a perspective from a Dolphins fan. It's a new team. They're coming in. We'll see how they go. But Baxter, we're here for the Roosters. We're here for the Cowboys. Let's jump straight into it. My boys, straight off the bat, our 2023 losses, Renault Fatoni, Adam Kieran, Lachlan Lamb, Freddie Lussick, Kevin Nguama, Daniel Fafita, CSI Takiaho, Sam Verrills, and Ronald Vogtman. Our gains, Corey Allen or Core Allen, because I've stuffed up once again, Tuka Hua Tapua, Jake Turpin, Jackson Polo, Brandon Smith, and Robert Toy. I'm going to let you go first because I'm sure we'll have a few different things, but talk to me about these losses, these gains. From an outsider looking into the club, are the losses very big besides Takiaho and Verrills? And then obviously the gains, who do you see standing up besides Brandon Smith?
Well, Jackson Paulo is going to have a massive turn up because he's come across from the crosstown rivals in the South Sydney Rabbitohs, so he's got to pull his socks up. Jake Turpin's got to be the turpentine. He's got to have a big one. He's only on a 1-year deal there, so he's got to be playing for next year and more seasons above. But Sammy Verrills, Tagiaho, and my man Lockie Lamb, I think those are three massive outs for you. It's going to take a while for you to sort of get the gist of it. Smithy, Cheesy, he looked really good in the trials, so I think he slotted in well, and he hasn't looked overweight.
Well, I mean, if you watched the little Hyundai launch the other day, he's starting to get into that little bit of Bondi action. He's sipping on those lattes while he's doing it, making a few jokes, posing in front of some cars. Like, he's fitting in well in Bondi. He decided to have a few cracks at Melbourne and how the beaches aren't as nice or the media is not as nice and I don't really care enough. But I think he's going to fit in just well. I think, and I'll ask you this question, the new rule having to have 2 feet behind the referee, does that benefit a player like Smith? Because we know how explosive he is out of dummy half. Is that going to benefit him catching players off guard, getting those penalties, getting those resets, getting those tries? I reckon he could be into one of the biggest seasons of his career, and purely based on this rule looks like it's something that's going to help his game.
Yeah, you listen to ex-forwards from around the ground, here, there, and everywhere, and everybody says it's now a hooker game. If you're like 1 or 2 yards short of the try line, you expect any great hooker to sneak it in there because you don't. I think it was Willie Mason who explained when the person is or the attacker is short by 2 yards. One defender goes left, one defender goes right, and they, with the old rule being the foot has to be on the line or in line with the referee, the person on the left would have their right foot out to stop the sneak around, and the person on the right would have their left foot out to stop that tunnel being open. So being both foot on the line, both feet behind the line, I think that should be the rule. Like, because really, you're not really then 10 back, so to say. You like, at least now you are 10 back, but we'll see how it goes. Most forwards don't like the rule. I think it will be good, but again, have to wait and see how it unfolds. Maybe there'll be too many of the play. Maybe the good coaches were instead of crashing over for another start 10 meters out, pull up short and getting our hookers over the line and getting a sneaky try here or there. So I think it will be good, but maybe the NRL backflips on itself and scraps that rule. But again,
yeah, I will say I think there is going to be a lot of penalties, set restarts, depending on how they actually adjudicate that. I think there's going to be a lot of those in those first couple rounds as teams start to get used to obviously that style of play. Like, yes, we saw that rule in the trials, but no one was going 110% in those trials. But obviously, now that we're going full contact, we're going hard out, it's going to be a bit different. But another rule that's been brought up, the concussion rule, we spoke about it last year. They're talking about implementing one concussion, minimum 11 days out. I think it's going to be a pretty straightforward answer, but are we both on the same page that we agree with a concussion being 11 days?
I think it should be longer. I think it should be at least 14 or minimum 2 matches, club matches, so to say. You can't just sort of use it as an origin as a match. But, I reckon maybe two matches you sit out and do your tests. We see with the Roosters, with you guys especially, Jake Friend and Boy Cordner, he was knocked out in that origin, was it 2020? All preseason, he was trying to get back, and then a few days out, he calls it quits. So I think you guys, in the way of concussion rules and protocols, have really led the way. And I think the NRL need to keep that standard up to that. So I'm 11 days, I think, is a bit too short turnaround. I've been knocked out once playing high school AFL, and I was knocked out in the first quarter. And I don't really remember anything until the umpires blew full time. It wasn't much. It was just I ducked and got a knee to the head. And I don't know how long the quarters were going for. Maybe it was 15 minutes or were they 10 or whatever. But that's a big period of time. So haven't been knocked out since like that. So I say 2 weeks because the force that these players are going to go at it is just bigger than the NFL, I reckon. So 2 weeks is enough for me.
Yeah, I think, like we said, we're both in agreement that protocol needs to go that bit longer than 7 days, whether it's 14 days, 11 days. It needs to be extended. More tests need to be done. But you brought up Friend, you brought up Cordner. Obviously, massive shout out to them too. They were given Roosters Life membership, so they are members for life at the Roosters this afternoon / this evening. So congratulations to both Jake and Boyd. Now, let's talk about the current side before we do jump into the Cowboys. Round 1, we're going up against the Dolphins. Joey Manu yesterday did confirm that he has fractured his other side of his jaw. He had to have surgery to pop it back in. That's one injury. You look at Kiri, who knows where he is. That's the second injury. He might have copped a knock. They said he copped an elbow. They said it's not a concussion, but they're taking precaution. Third injury, Suali'i gets knocked out against Manly in the first 5 minutes. The season hasn't even started, and this team's already fallen apart, which is terrifying me. But to my point, what are your thoughts on those injuries? And then after that, you talked about Jackson Polo having a massive season. Let's talk about Dominic Young. Talk to me about that. Talk to me about your thoughts on that whole situation that's unfolding.
So we'll touch on the Dominic Young. I think it's just a player who just he's sort of been held back at Newcastle. That's a team that's hasn't really played finals footy for a few years now. They look like they're going, yep, it's going to be our year. We're going to crack that top 8. And they always just seem to find a way to self-destruct and not make that 8 at all. So he showed at the World Cup he give him some ball and he can show you the try line. So I think you guys need it more so. You got Anthony Tupou, I think, is off contract this year. So I think that's where he will. Daniel, what did I say?
Anthony. He hasn't been there for a while, mate. He hasn't been there for a very long time.
Sorry. Well, Daniel Tupou, he's off contract at the end of this year, so I think that's where Dominic Young will slide in. I think it's more so the just using up the squad there, so he'll slide into that side. And I'm not laughing at the fact that these players have got injuries. I just find it funny that this is the number 7 or 8 player this year that's gone down with some sort of jaw injury. A few years ago it was all ACLs. Last year was all hammies. So
I'll just jump in. I think just before you go on, because you're making a great point. So I just want to jump in. Like I said I think it was 2 episodes ago when it did get released, the Roosters are one of the only teams that do full contact training. So I think the head injuries being up is probably because of that. They're going in hard at training. So, yes, you might not get hit at training. I'm not saying no one goes in hard at training, but the constant fatigue, you lower your head a little bit more, you cop an elbow, you cop a fin. Joey Manu said he slipped. He fell into an elbow.
Maybe did the NRL follow what the NFL do and they have, a set amount of times where you can have full contact training sessions, and if you got, this is all from the NFL, if you go over that amount, you are heavily fined, and restrictions are put on you. Penalties and restrictions are put on you for whatever they see fit. So, I think if they're leading that and they're like the leading concussion sport in the world due to the consistently pounding of the helmets together. Watch that movie Concussion with Will Smith. He plays a very, very, very weird South African accent. Maybe we go down that way. Maybe we have maybe three times a week you can have full contact training, or maybe twice a week you have full contact training to limit these the amount of head injuries and whatnot. So maybe we should take a step out or play out of their playbook and follow in their steps.
Yeah, you know what? I reckon fuck the NFL. I don't want to stop every 2 seconds. It's very easy to not get an injury if you stop every 2 seconds.
No, I'm talking in training. I'm talking training wise.
But look at majority of the injuries at the Roosters cop. It's in a game. It's due to fatigue. If you take the NFL, stop every 2 minutes. No one's going to be tired. We don't have to stop. We don't have to stop. But I'm talking about head protocols and the way we can limit that behind off the field, off the playing field. If we can try and limit that, we see Joe Manu line up round 1 and Luke Keary line up round 1. So hold on, whoa. They're still saying there's a massive chance that Keary and Manu do both line up, but that's ones to come. But let's talk before we quickly move on. One more thing, we didn't touch on it when we did say the injuries because it's not really an injuries, but Charlie Crichton came out today about Angus Crichton, and his quote was, "I can confirm today that Angus is under appropriate professional supported treatment for medically diagnosed bipolar disorder, which he's been dealing with for some time. He is fully supported by his family, his management, and the Roosters as he works towards recovery. While no timeline has been set, the rugby league will continue to trust his medical team, and he will continue to trust them and the medical team." So, to me, I don't think we're going to see Angus Crichton for a very, very long time, which takes me back to that Dominic Young point. There's talks that he wants to come by round 1. The Roosters want him by round 1. The Knights want him out the door. They've come in and they said Egan or Nat Butcher. The Roosters have said, you're kidding yourself. We're already short on forwards as it is. So they're looking for a compensation. I think the last thing we have to talk about before we do move into the Cowboys is, do you think the Roosters get this across the line? Do you think he comes by round 1? Do you think they give him a compensation? Do you think they throw him some young forward like a Fletcher Baker or a Nathaniel White? Do you think something like that happens, or do you think it's next year, round 1, 2024?
Knights need middle forwards. You guys are low, so you ain't going to give any experience like Nat Butcher or any bench player forward to the night. So I don't think this deal is
Oh,
going to
mate,
get
Fletcher
pushed.
Baker's played like 16 games last year.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is I don't see they want an experienced forward, not too experienced, but they want someone, and you aren't willing to give them because obviously you just said Angus Crichton's out, so they're going to need to fill his spot, which now means they're going to have to fill the bench spot, which you are low in. So I don't see this going across unless the Knights say we want something else where you have a little bit more depth elsewhere and you can push it along across the line. So if they want a middle forward, it's a no.
I will say, watch your space because I have this strange thought that this CBA agreement's not going to get done in time, and it wouldn't shock me if Matt Lodge went the other way for Dominic Young to come in and Lindsay Collins and Jared Weaver-Hargraves go into those starting positions. But enough about the Roosters because, like, I can see that smile on your face. For one of the first times in a very long time, you've got a Cowboys shirt on. Ben Down, is it a Cowboys hat too? Is there a Cowboys hat on there too?
No, it's an Oakland Raiders hat.
No.
It's
A Raiders. That's why he's talking about NFL 24/7. But let's jump into the Cowboys. I'll throw it across to you. Talk to me about their losses in that nice white light.
Mate, we got Assi, Corden, Gilbert, Limu, and the Hammer all leading for their respective clubs. We got Dufty, Gogowski, Lip, Shabalaski, Tamo returns, and Chester also.
Hold on. How the hell did you get Shabalaski? There's not even an L in his last name.
Shabalaski. Yeah, look, let's just go with it. Man. He's only here for this season. Shabalaski, let's just go. Let's just roll with it. I'm just going to call him the GS man. Look, apart from James Talma, which we were sort of lacking, sort of middle towards the back end of the year, experienced middle, should I say. When games were on the line and we were sort of playing the offload game and it wasn't really working because James Talma, who knows just to hold the ball, take the hit up, it would be good to see him return because I was rewatching the 2015 grand final and he takes a nice settler up before JT kicks the winning field goal. So hats off to him. He returns.
Come on,
again.
mate. If you're going to give anyone credit, you give him the man that dropped the ball up the other side credit, not the little run that he had to run 2.5 meters.
Whoa. He has redeemed himself as a Queenslander. He has redeemed himself for last year's State of Origin heroic win. So we are just going to forget that Ben Hunt dropped the ball. Don't worry about it, mate. You won us the State of Origin. I have all forgiven you, mate, as a Queenslander.
You won us to... What do you mean forgive him?
Right,
You're probably loving him for what he did. What do you mean forgiving? You loved it. That's the best moment in your club's history.
Yeah, but put yourself in your shoe. Put yourself in his shoes. The club's first time that they're going to go out and win a comp for the great Wayne Bennett, and he drops the ball, and he was in tears, and he hasn't looked at him the same since until last year, where he's put it in the past. He's won Origin. He's played great in the 7 jersey for the St. George Illawarra Dragons, even though they're terrible. But we'll move on. I forgive him. I forgive him all these demons and all that, mate. Forget about it. Don't worry. You just turn up in that Maroons jersey and you win us the game. That's all that matters to me. But this is a sort of an unchained side. Like Hammer, he started at fullback, went down. Scotty Drinkwater came in and he never looked back. Tom Gilbert's probably my biggest loss because I really liked him. He did sign, I think it was like March. So at the start of the season, when the Dolphins were announced, he was moving and he came out and said, yep, it's for family reasons. All my family's down there. I'm moving back home. I think if he had waited till the end of last season, I don't think he would have signed. I think he would have stayed and we would have offered him a little bit more money to keep him. But saying that, look, I wish them all the best. They helped us last year to get where we got. And I hope all the best for them. And the new players coming in, I open them with welcome arms.
Well, like you said, yeah, it's definitely interesting. There's not too much, I think, that you've lost in that squad that's too massive. Now, Hammer, that's massive. I think that's probably the biggest loss you're going to cop this year. Tom Gilbert, I honestly think you've dodged a bullet getting rid of him. I don't think he's going to offer too much to the Dolphins this year. The others, they kind of just fall into place, but it's not what you needed. Again, I've got my thoughts about Tamo. I'm still pissed that he got to play that last game. The judiciary took it way too soft on him, but it is what it is. He's moved on to a new place, so all the best. Hopefully he does well. But before I continue with the Cowboys, I did forget to mention Radley did just sign a 4-year deal. So that's another thing. If you are a Roosters fan, Radley has confirmed for 4 more years. So as he said, at the grand final, beers, and beers. There'll be plenty of beers coming over those next 4 years for Victor Radley. But I guess, like you said, it's an unchanged lineup. You bring in James Tarmac, gets a bit of that experience in that middle pack. He can run forward. He can take some hit-ups. He can make some tackles. He's another strong man in defense. What is I know we said at the start, but what is your realistic expectation of this side? Do you sit there and go, yes, they're a top 4 side, or do you go, they're in the 8, anywhere from 6 to 1 is realistic, or are you hell-bent on it's a top 4 side?
If anybody makes top 8, it's a win. But I believe if they continue this momentum onwards, which I've been watching closely with their training videos and whatnot, and it seems to be the same as last year where the whip was out and, we're doing ball sessions on the park, which is across the road from the stadium, and, something's going along and, all right, Big Toddy Payton, Big Daddy comes out and goes, all right, put your joggers on. We're going up Castle Hill and we're running with weights in our backpacks and whatnot. And look, the same happened this year. So if the same is going to happen last year, maybe, top 4 is a big achievement. As you said, maybe 1 to 6, is a more realistic. But I top 4, I see them there. Hopefully coming 3rd in front of the Raiders, which, I called it, but with their injuries at the moment, I'm going to have to drop them down, unfortunately.
Well, you know what? Hold on. Let's talk about the Raiders. Talking about the Raiders for a second. Obviously, I'll let you add anything else you want about the Cowboys after this, but the last of their precious milk factories that produce that green milk is closing. It's moving to Penrith. It's operating out of Penrith. Like, is that a sign that the Raiders are just going down here? They're in 3-4. It's over. We might as well kick them out of the comp because they're not going to have milk anymore.
Is that the Canberra milk that I keep going on about?
The Canberra milk, it's closing down. The last one is closing down. It's moving to Penrith.
For some odd reason, I still remember. I remember going down there when what's the bloke that was drinking cruises on the hill? His name escapes me now. He moved to the Sharks and played centre. Josh Dugan. I remember when he was playing fullback and he come up against Greg Inglis in the 1 jersey, and I just remember just that Canberra milk ad. Just I'm a Canberra milk kid, yeah. I didn't know that they were moving to Penrith. That's big news. Look, I did have them 4th, but with the injuries that they've now taken on, it's going to be a big mountain to climb. Maybe they make the 8. I'll have to reshuffle my ladder prediction. Look, I'm still hoping they come top 8. For Ricky's sake, I love the man. He's pretty good. I love it when he gets a little bit lippy in the press conference. It's always good to see. Got a soft spot for him. But, when you look at the preseason ladder, they came last and they only managed to score 1 point. It's pretty bad. You go from the bottom, you got the Raiders, Knights, Dragons, Cowboys, Dolphins, Penrith, Dogs, Warriors, West Tigers, and then to round out the bottom 9 was the Roosters. So even Roosters are not even playing finals footy. Shout out to the Manly Seagulls. Nice 100K going your way with a total of 29 points. Close second, Sharks by a point. And then third by 2 points from first is St. Helens, the English team. So, and then the Titans. Like, what a big jump that is. So, look, Luai, who's your daddy now? Because not everybody can beat St Helens. I think the last time the team beat St Helens was some team over in the eastern suburbs. I think Nick Politis maybe has a say in that club. Can you help me out, Tony?
Oh, mate, you know what? It's the boys from Bondi. Like, listen, not everyone can win a club challenge. Like, Penrith, if you feel bad, just remember the Dragons have one of those from back in 2011. So it's pretty bad that the Dragons have one and you don't. So, Baxter, I mean, I'll let you go on if you've got anything else to say about the Cowboys or to say against the Roosters. But, it's that part of the week, and I'm throwing you on the spot again.
Ooh.
If you were an animal, if you could become an animal, what animal would you become and why?
Ooh. Mum always said I would be like a sloth or a koala because all they do is sleep, shit, and eat and sleep all day. Like, that's all I do. But if I had to pick a better animal than a koala or a sloth, probably pick like a shark, water-based animal, but some sort of shark. Maybe a mako, or maybe a bull shark or a black tip reef shark. One of those little small ones. They're pretty cool. What about you, man?
Mate, you know what? I've always tossed up. I've always been said like, oh, this, that, monkey this, monkey that. It'd be awesome to be a monkey. But after having a dog for a couple months now, they get fed, they get washed, they take a shit and someone else picks it up. They piss in the backyard, they run around, mate. I'm becoming a dog. I get fed, I don't have to move, I do a few tricks, I get pat.
Whose dog's this? Is it your dad's or mum's?
Both. There's a little what brand is it? It's a cavoodle. We've got a little cavoodle running around the house. So yeah, I mean it's quite good. But Baxter, I'll throw it to you. Do you have any questions before we wrap up this episode, or any random facts that you thought of this week?
No, it wasn't a random fact. I heard this statement or question the other day, and I've been asking everybody, and it's sort of been split age and whatnot. So, like, even if I ask two older people, I'm getting two separate answers, and I ask two younger people, I'm getting two separate answers anyway. So, I can't even say it's more of an older generation. All right, so it's you and me, and we'll throw our mate Campo. Shout out to Josh Camplin. Say we're all down at the pub, and you and me are drinking beers, but Campo's drinking soft drink. On the third shout, when it's Campo's shout, should he have to buy the round, or should he just not have to worry because he's been drinking soft drink?
I would say, and I'm in this situation a fair bit because I don't drink a lot, but I would say the first round when I go out, if I'm drinking with say 3 or 4 boys, I will buy the first round. I will buy that round, and then for the most part after that, I'm not going to have 4 or 5 soft drinks. So the most part, I buy the first round, I buy one, but then after that, you're probably going to have to buy him 2 soft drinks each just to get into the same price range that he bought you a beer for. So I think he needs to shout 1 for every 2 drinks. So 1 every 2 rounds, he has a shout.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. I'm more... Look, if it's you, me, Campo, you buy the first one for beers, and then I buy a second one. If Campo goes up and goes, hey, boys, I'm going to get one because you all got one, I'm going to take the beer. But if he doesn't, no water off my back, because I think Coke, if you go to the pokey rooms, a little tip here, if you go to your local and you go in the pokey room and you pick the drink section there, drinks cost about like $3.50, especially at the band club. Shout out to the band club of Great Western Highway. So you get it cheaper again, and when you get your membership card out, I think it brings it down to $2.20. So $2.20 is nothing off my back. So
well, yeah, Bandy, mate, Bandy, you've just got a free shout out. You've got a shout out. So if you want to chuck a bit of sponsorship money our way, well, you know what? We'll put it to good use. We'll put a few fins up. We'll buy some proper equipment. But Baxter, we're pushing 30 minutes. It's the Roosters. It's the Cowboys. You've given me your Cowboys prediction. With injuries aside, where do you see this Rooster side finishing? Give me a 14 bracket, because we don't want to give away our bracket before we do say our 1 to 17. So give me a 4 position range.
I've got you in the top 4. That's my little pick. You've seen my first draft of the ladder prediction, which is going to have to be revised now. So I don't think I have you moving out of the top 4.
100%. Well, like I said, guys, obviously, thank you for joining me. Baxter, obviously yourself, but obviously, thank you for the people listening. We are 9 subscribers away from that 200 mark, so please jump in. Please hit subscribe. Turn on that little notification bell so you don't miss us whenever we do drop an episode. Like I said, next week we will be talking to the Dolphins with Leroy. We will be having a bit of a chat with him. After this match between the 2 international teams, I might try and get a few of those boys on and just talk about what it means to them to represent their country, whether it be Thailand. Like, again, it's not a big powerhouse that you think of when you think of rugby league, but like I said, they give a crack more than what most teams do here in the NRL. So, Baxter, thank you for joining me. We'll be back next week with the episode with Leroy. We'll be back on Tuesday or Wednesday when the team lists do drop to talk about round 1, but most of all, football's back in less than a week. So, mate, I'll talk to you soon and go to Roosters.
Yeah, peace out.